If you like wine and live in California, it's about to get a heck of a lot more expensive under a new scam that California politicians have concocted and imposed on all of us. Coming up, I'll tell you what's going on and how we're fighting back. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California. And if you're like me, I enjoy a good glass of wine every once in a while. And that's why I'm pretty ticked to hear that California politicians have concocted a scheme to try to make it more expensive for you to enjoy your favorite varietal. It's a scheme to get money from you, and they're using the environment as the window dressing for their scam. Let me tell you all about it. Go to the LAist. This is a publication up in Los Angeles. It says, quote, "Save that bottle of wine. California will pay you to recycle it." Wait. California will pay you to recycle it? No. California isn't paying you. You're being taxed, and that money's going into a fund. And if you return an empty bottle and recycle, then you'll get a little bit of your money back. Okay, so let's just be really clear that this headline is exactly what the politicians want you to think, is that they've got free money for you, and they're trying to help the environment. That's why they're giving you an incentive to return those wine bottles. No, they basically have imposed a tax on wine and a variety of other beverage containers, and they're hoping you don't recycle. More on that in just a minute, because this is where the scam comes in. And this is why I'm here, as I do all this research for you so that you get the story behind the story. So it's the California Beverage Container Recycling Program. And it basically charges you a tax when you go purchase wine. If you buy drinks with 7% alcohol or more by volume of the beverage, you're charged a CRV, and you can see it on your receipt, a California Redemption Value charge at the register. Now, you then can trade in the empty containers or bottles, glasses, to get your CRV money back. So they took your money, and you can get it back if you do good for the environment and recycle. So how much do you get for beverages less than 24 ounces? Those would be the small bottles, maybe a beer. You get 5 cents. They give you examples: Cutwater, Tiki Rum Mai Tai, Betty Boo's Sparkling Tequila, Fisher's Island, Blueberry Wave, whatever. And I've never heard of any of them, but I'm sure they're great. White Claw, Mike's Hard Lemonade, and Coors Beer were already being accepted by the program. For 24 ounces or more, and that would be this bad boy right here, your typical wine bottle, you get a 10-cent payment back. So what's really going on here? The state of California has been involved in a scam with these recycled CRV fees that they're charging. And I call them a tax, because a tax says if you're not getting the value from your government for what you pay, it's a tax. A fee is something you pay in order to get something of value of equal or greater amount back in return, and it should be voluntary. But no, this is a tax, and they collect it into their recycling program. The recycling program in the state of California has always run a surplus every year. Why? Well, let's think about it. You pay the CRV on every bottle, every can. The tax is paid. Most people, though, they don't recycle. A lot of those bottles and cans and jars and whatever that had CRVs charged to it, they're never recycled. And so the state of California gets this massive balance that it carries in its environmental recycling program. And that's by design, my friends. They really don't want you to recycle. They love it when you don't show up and claim your nickel back or your dime back for those wine bottles now. They love it because they get to keep the money. And now the enviros will say, no, Carl, the fund can only be used for environmental issues. Not true, my dear, not true. Because every single time the state politicians want money to fill a budget hole, they borrow against the CRV fund. They issue an IOU and they say, well, we'll pay it back when you need the money. But you and I both know they're never going to need all that money because there's not a whole lot of recycling going on. So when you see this, everyone feels good about it. It's good for the environment. We're reducing landfills. And no, you're not. You're lining the pockets of politicians. And that's why I think that for the CRV program, what we should do is basically zero it out. No borrowing allowed. And whatever is charged is returned to the consumers with no balance carried forward. I mean, that if this is really about the environment and incentivizing recycling, then you only need enough money to incentivize the recycling that's happening. And you're never going to have a shortfall because you can always do some sort of adjustment a year after the payments are made. And you just adjust it going forward. And you could go from a CRV of 5 cents, and you can say, well, you know what, we're not using all of it. We're going to go down to 2.5 cents. We're going to go down to 1 cent. Or we're going to have a CRV holiday year because we have such a cash balance in the account because not as many people are incentivizing. See, if you really were doing it legitimately, that's one way to handle it. But Democrat politicians in California are not legitimate about the recycling. They just want your money. Talk about accounting scams. I've talked about the need for government pension reform for decades. As a San Diego City Council member, I helped uncover the pension scandal in the city of San Diego where they intentionally underfunded their pension system, and they did it by cooking their books and spiking benefits to get the unions to go along. It was a Ponzi scheme. In fact, it was nicknamed Enron by the Bay, the pension program in San Diego by the New York Times. Anyway, it looks like they didn't learn their lesson. So the pension scandal happened in 2004, 5, 6. And as recently as 2011 and 2012, the city was on the brink of bankruptcy because of its pension problem. Now, politicians want to do the Enron-style accounting games once again. They want to cook the books. They're going to their pension board, and they're saying, can we short pay you? We don't want to pay for the actual pensions that we're awarding these government employees. We want to kick the can down the road. We want to put the taxpayer on the hook to guarantee the pension payouts in 20 years and 10 years and 5 years, but we don't want to pay the piper today. That way we can give more salaries and more chum and more waste in the budget. This is how the game works. They know that you, the taxpayer, are legally obliged to pay the payout 20, 30 years from now, but they don't want to charge the bill this year to the city budget so that the money actually is there and generates the investment return. This is why I believe we need to go to a 401k in pension programs in the government, because you shouldn't trust politicians to manage the money. They will always steal it, divert it, and rate it. And that's what's happening here. If I were a city employee, I'd be very nervous right now. Your pension is being underfunded intentionally. And what happens is that the politicians appoint the pension board. They're made up of government appointed representatives. And the unions are on that board. And the unions don't care because they know that you, the taxpayer, are legally obliged under California vested rules. Vested contractual pension obligations cannot be just wiped away. They know that even if we don't pay money in today, you're still, as a taxpayer, on the hook. So this is illegal debt that they're creating. And if you take a look at what's going on at the state level, it's not just the city of San Diego doing this. The state of California is doing it as well. We have nearly $1 trillion in unfunded pension and retiree healthcare obligations statewide in California. $1 trillion. It's insane. And it's happening right under our nose. One other story from the San Diego area. There's a lot of corruption down there. It's also my backyard. So Sandag brings in new contractor to take over troubled South Bay Expressway toll system. We brought you this story a few months ago. This is where the local government down there took over a private toll road and hired a contractor to manage the tolls. At first, they weren't collecting tolls at all, so people were using the toll road for free. Then we found out that they implemented the toll system and were overcharging people. Again, only in government. Now they've decided to fire the contractor that made all those mistakes, a company called HNTB. HNTB was the outside consultant, paid $4.3 million to manage the failed tolling contract. Well, guess what? They failed, but they're going to continue to get paid, even as they hire two new companies to take over the system. It will be Deloitte is being hired, and a company called A2B. Deloitte and A2B will be able to take over the system. ETAN tolling technology is one of the other contractors that failed. They're going to be paid $1.3 million, even though they failed, $1.3 million to transition their contract. And as I mentioned, HNTB is going to be paid an extra $500,000 on top of the $4.3 million that they were paid to screw things up. Now, the reason why I bring up this story, it's not just the failure. You're paying people who failed. It's the fact that there's corruption here too. You see, HNTB got this contract and continues to get $500,000 even though they failed because they are contributing to a sales tax campaign committee for Sandag. Oh, you can't make this crap up. Almost said it. We're a family show. You can't make this crap up. HNTB gives a $400,000 campaign contribution to a committee that Sandag benefits from, a campaign committee, to raise taxes. So they finance a tax-raising campaign on you, and in return, they're given a contract, even though they failed, that is much more than the contributions they're giving back to the politicians. Do you see the corruption here? We're using tax dollars to fund campaigns through contractors who have failed to raise your taxes, and then the contractor gets reimbursed and then some in the form of a bloated contract. And you don't get the performance that contract should deliver. It's insane. At Reform California, we are fighting to shine a light on corruption like this and explain to voters in simple terms, as I've just done, what's really going on, whether it's the good old wine bottle scheme or it's the use of contractors to fund political campaigns and then we give them failed contracts. All this stuff is happening. And that's why we need your help to shine a light on the corruption. Chip in a contribution at reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org. And like and subscribe to our video channel here. We post new episodes every day at 5 o'clock. Like this video and comment below so we can break through the algorithm and get the video out to more Californians so they are aware of what's going on. After all this bad news, I could really use a glass or two of good wine. Until next time, I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California. Help us break through the censorship of the liberal media. Like this video, subscribe to this channel, and smash that notification button so you can stay up to date on all the developments in California news and politics. Also, please visit the website, reformcalifornia.org, for ongoing news coverage and to join one of our campaigns in the fight to take back our state. If you can, please sign up as a volunteer or chip in a contribution. This episode of Reform California with Carl DeMaio, paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly 2024.